Yeah, I know that song was maybe a little too dramatic for a cheap Chinese optic, but hey, we're here to have fun, or at least I am. So the UUQ Mini Reflex red dot sight. So why would I choose this over a reputable, high quality, and therefore higher priced optic? Well, the philosophy, I guess, for something like this is so that I can have an optic on something that doesn't require a high quality optic, i.e., your Trigicons or Holosuns, or something like that, on what is essentially a range toy. And within my collection, I easily have about a dozen range toys that don't necessarily need the best optic money can buy. And out of the box, this ranch hand is kind of a clunky and difficult firearm to yield, and especially to aim with the stock buckhorn sights that it came with. And that's where this UUQ Mini Reflex comes into play. So as far as specs, it's made from, or the shell I should say, is made from 7071 aluminum. It's got your basic, 2-button on and off, as you can see, and brightness settings. And I think it's 12 brightness settings. It's plenty bright. The optic has no problem in full daylight, as you can see from the shooting footage. And I think I only had it at about the 8 brightness setting. It wasn't even at full brightness. You've got your adjustments, with really nice audible tactile clicks. The adjustments are very nice. And has a multi-coated lens, which projects a very nice crisp red dot. And I believe you get, I think it was 50,000 hours of battery life on the low setting. However, there's a shake awake feature, which is very nice and very intuitive. I really like the shake awake feature. It already comes from the factory that when there's no movement for 3 minutes, the optic automatically turns off. So you don't really have to worry about adjusting whether you want it to turn off after a certain amount of time. And let's just take a look at the box real quick. So it comes with one of these pretty basic, industry standard plastic boxes that you get with all of your Chinese optics. And you've got a cover, which I'll go over in a second. And it comes with an RMR plate, screws, there is a battery, just one battery included, which I have in the optic. And then instruction manual, lens cloth, that kind of stuff back there. So there's a couple things in here, though, that don't belong. This right here is the stock buckhorn sights that I took off. We'll talk about that in a second, as well as the mount that's on there, which is the this was the I think it's the Rossi 92 or 94. I always forget that. But the mount for the actual rifle, not the ranch hand, but the rifle itself. So we'll go over that stuff in a sec. So let's go ahead and get the box out of the way real quick, and talk about the mount here. So like I said, it's like a 94, model 94 mount from Rossi, and you're supposed to drill it into the screw holes that come in the rifle length version. So since this is I guess an AOW, it does not actually have those screws, or the screw holes, I should say. So I had to think slightly outside the box. As you can hopefully see in there, there is a little place where the buckhorn sight, or the slot where the buckhorn sights are. All right, there we go. I think that's maybe a better look. You can see that there is something in that little slot there. I basically took a existing buckhorn sight, not the one that came with this, because that one's a pretty high quality one, but from this right here, my Marlin 795. I love this rifle right here, by the way. This is, I think, one of the best 22 rifles ever made. But you can see that I got, I put some fiber optic sights on. And so the cheap buckhorn sight that came from that Marlin 795, I cut down a bit and then screwed screwed the Rossi mount onto the existing, or into whatever was left of that buckhorn sight. So it's not much. There's like a couple inches worth of buckhorn sight underneath here, but I've got 2 screws going into there, and then I Loctited it down really nicely. But just to make sure it kind of stayed level, I wrapped this athletic tape all around, and you can actually see where the Picatinny rail is right here. But that mount came with a really nice rear sight that I wanted to use, but I'm not going to be able to use it. But yeah, so it still worked out all right because those red dots holding up nicely. I don't really think I would need to use the rear sight at all. In my quest to try and make this a better shooter, I did put on a taller front sight because when it had the buckhorn sight on here, I was just having a hard time getting accurate shots. I think I was shooting very high. So I was trying to lower the point of aim by putting a taller front blade on there. But I still think it looks cool with this tall front blade. So, all right. So before we get to how good this thing was, let's just go over a few cons real quick. Not many cons at all. But first of which is this cover. It's a very flimsy cover. But on the pro side, it did do its job. You can see where I actually dropped it while it was mounted to the gun. And it nailed the very top of the sight, but did not damage the sight at all. You can see underneath that there are no scratches or anything like that. But one thing that I just don't really like about the cover is it doesn't cover up the buttons. And maybe that's kind of on purpose so they don't actually accidentally get hit. But it just kind of makes for the cover to be very flimsy. Like there's no structural integrity to it at all. So not a huge fan of the mount, or of the cover, but it does work. So I'm not going to complain too much. And then the only other kind of minor thing, hopefully I'll be able to see this. If it'll focus. Why are you not focusing? Come on. There we go. So right at the bottom of the lens, there seems to be slight separation happening. And to tell you the truth, I'm not exactly sure if that was already like that or if it was from recoil, from the heavy recoil of the 44 mag. But I haven't really noticed any, decrease in performance because of that. It still has a pretty crisp, clean dot, and works just fine. So I'll see if further in the future if the lens comes popping out. But so far, it seems to be holding in there really nicely. As a matter of fact, if I were to kind of touch it, I don't even feel any wiggle or anything like that. So I think we're good. I think it might just be a quality control issue from the factory, and that most likely it was like that before I even put it on the gun. And that's about where the cons end. Really only those 2 cons. The rest of it is all good stuff. So starting the pros off, I just want to talk about, I guess the biggest pro of them all is recoil management. Still tight. All right, we're gonna try some recoil testing, and we're gonna start with some MagTech 240 grain. This is a semi-jacketed soft point. So, yeah, let's see how this does. So far, this is actually the stuff I've been using mostly. Oh, gotta turn it on. shots. I nicked it. Nicked the small one. All right. So now we're going to move on to this is some Freedom Munitions, also 240 grain, but it is an XTP bullet, which is a pretty impressive looking hollow point. Just a massive round, these 44 mags. So we're going to do 7 rounds. Top it off here. Can't seem to keep the little ones on the stand. Hit with authority. Try for that little one. Alright. Got it. Think of the last shot. Oh! Boy. There's one thing that'll break a target stand. It's definitely 44 mag. But it's not breaking the red dot. It's not jiggling. It's not wobbling. It's not moving back and forth. Keeping it 0. So far, so good. But last but not least, I want to step it up now to some 300 grain. This is some Black Hills ammunition. Jacketed hollow point. It actually looks pretty much identical to that XTP bullet, but this one's slightly bigger, slightly heavier at 300 grains. And let me go fix my target stand. Alright, for simplicity's sake, I just left the 8-inch target up there. That one seems to be staying on because I do have some proper steel target hangers for that target right there. The other ones were just being held up with screws. I was just hoping for the best, but I didn't think they would actually stay up there. So we're just going to be shooting at the 8-inch target. And I'm going to go ahead and top it off with some 300 grain Black Hills ammunition. 44 mag. Jacketed. Come on now. There we go. Jacketed hollow point. One more shot, I think. Alright. I think I nailed every single one. How we doing? We're doing great. This red dot is amazing. For the price, of course. It's holding up really nicely. It is not budging one iota. So, or I should say at least the mount that I have it on is not budging. The red dot itself is also doing just fine. I mean, it's not turning off. It's still a pretty crisp, clean dot. So it's not, what do they call it? Blooming or ballooning or whatever. But yeah, I mean, the dot's staying nice and crisp, and it's staying 0 too. I mean, we were able to hold up against some 240 grain MagTech, some Freedom Munitions XTP bullet, as well as some 300 grain jacketed hollow point Black Hills ammunition, which is a very potent round. I mean, you can carry that in your 6-shooter up in Alaska and be defended against anything that nature can really throw at you. So it's just a very powerful round. But so are the other two, and I've had probably at least 200 rounds, if not more, through this gun since the optic has been mounted. Like I said, I did Loctite everything down, as well as the 2 mounting screws right there on top. And nothing has budged. The optic has not lost 0 at all. I mean, it's holding up to the recoil just fine. Like I said, I think the separation at the bottom of the lens there, I think, is probably from the factory itself. But yeah, I mean, so far just it's absorbed recoil like a champ. So another pro is definitely the price. Right now you can find this on Amazon for 60 bucks, which is probably a third of the price of most Holosuns and a, you know, almost tenth of the price of like your average, maybe not a tenth, but like an eighth of the price of your average like Trigicon or, you know, one of those very high quality, high-end optics. And for the price, the dot itself is very crisp and clean. I'll try and see if I can get it on camera, but it's gonna be tough. There we go. So it's not the best, or you know, the best example, obviously, because putting a red dot on camera never really works out very well. But you guys can see that it's a nice big circle. Right now, that's on, I think, the 8th setting, brightness setting, and it gets even higher. Like I was saying, the shake awake itself is very intuitive, and I haven't even messed with it at all. Unlike, you know, like a Holosun that I have where I had to scroll through a couple different settings to kind of get like the amount of time that I wanted to turn off at and stuff like that. I think that 3 minutes is perfectly fine. If you're putting your firearm down for 3 minutes, then you might as well have the optic turn off. There's really no reason for it to stay on. And some of the shake awake features on other optics are like 2 hours or 4 hours or whatever. Like there's no reason why you need a dot to stay on if you're not using it for 2 to 4 hours. Speaking of which, the battery life itself, 50,000 hours on the low setting. I mean, nobody's going to use it on the low setting, but with the shake awake feature, you'll probably surpass that 50,000 hour battery life. So far, on a relatively high brightness setting, I have not had any dimming or any loss of the dot. It hasn't turned off on me or anything like that, so it's going strong. The adjustments are very good, very tactile, very audible, nice clicks, and I can't remember exactly if it's like a quarter MOA click or a half inch click or what it is. I'll try and notate what it was, but I really like that it's, you know, these kind. There's some other ones out there where, you know, you take a little Allen wrench and turn it. Those don't always have the best clicks, but I really like it when it's these like stainless steel adjustments with the flathead screwdriver, you know, because you're always carrying some sort of a flat edge on you, whether it's your keys or a screwdriver itself or, you know, the rim of a bullet. You could use anything in general. You know, it's just a lot easier than having that one specific Allen wrench to go into that one specific adjustment. So yeah, I like the adjustments a lot. Aesthetics are really nice, I think. It's just unique. It's got these little lines and stuff. It doesn't really look like anything else out there. And size-wise, I think it's really nice. It's not your smallest mini reflex sight out there, but it's not big at all. It would probably work just fine on an AR, especially with the Picatinny mount, but I like it on something about this size. It might be slightly too big for a pistol, but you know, it does come with the RMR mount in the box right there. And aside from aesthetics, it is a robust mount. I mean, nothing seems flimsy about it. It's, you know, keeping it zero, and everything has stayed very tight. And it was just a massive improvement over the existing sights of this Rossi rangehand, which, by the way, was right here. I had this little thingy in there to adjust elevation, but I always kept it on like the lowest setting because it was shooting so high. You know, these buckhorn sights right here, they're great. I mean, they're nice and solid. They work just fine, but I wanted something better. So I went with a red dot option, and this UUQ seemed to really fit the bill and also allowed for much longer ranges than what was previously possible with the stock buckhorn sights. All right, so we're at about 55 yards with some of the mag tech right here. The 240 grain semi-jacketed soft point. And I already got 2 loaded up in here because I just took a couple shots and seems like 0 has, you know, stayed on.
kind of hard to freehand this thing too. Another hit. Hit. She's hitting. There's a little dealy bobber right here. Kind of gets in the way. However, practicality is not exactly a word that you associate with something like this. Yeah. I jerked the trigger on that. Could have swore I hit. Or I could have swore I aimed right on that time. I think this is the last shot. That was a hit. And it ricocheted off the bill of my cap there. So let's go and do 6 shots of the Freedom Munitions XTP. It's definitely staying zeroed, I will say. I like this red dot a lot so far. If it can hold up to 44 mag recoil and stay zeroed, I think it could probably hold up to just about anything. Alright. And it's staying tight. Alright, 6 shots of Freedom Munition XTP 240 grain. That was probably just too high. Okay. Jerk the trigger. She's zeroed. When I get a nice solid shot on target, I know it because, not only because it hits the target, but I can just feel it. Just like that. Alright. That was the last shot of the XTP. And we are solid. No wiggle whatsoever. Stayed zero. Very nice.
So just to recap, yes, this optic is probably suited more for a pistol or a carbine of some sort. You know, maybe a good home defense shotgun with the shake awake feature, you know, something like that. But I figured that if it could stand up to 44 mag recoil on a DIY mount, then it can probably stand up to just about anything. So I definitely recommend it. I'd say go out and get it if you're just looking for a cheaper, but not extremely cheap to where it's going to break, but a cheaper red dot that you just want to throw on, you know, some sort of a range toy that you might have, something like this goofy Rossi Ranch hand that is not practical in any way. I remember when this came out, a lot of people were trying to justify their purchase by saying, "Oh, I'm going to make it my ATV gun." No, just, you know, just carry a normal pistol with you on your ATV. But this, it's just a really fun gun to shoot. I don't know what it is. It has a massive amount of power. The velocity that you're achieving with the 12-inch barrel with these 44 mag rounds I think it's close to like 1800 feet per second. It's just screaming out of this Rossi Ranch hand. And this UUQ mini reflex red dot sight has no problem holding up to the recoil. So that's about it. Thanks for watching.